Hi, I'm Chris Haigh and this is the Fiddle channel, and today I'm going to look at Old Home Place. Old Home Place. This was a request, actually two requests, one from Guillaume and one from Mary. It was written by the Dillards, who were one of the early bluegrass bands in the bluegrass revival of the 60s and 70s. Mostly played in B flat, this tune, which makes it interesting, and there's a famous recording by J.D. Crowe and the New South, who also do it in B flat. I'm going to give you three versions. One, a very basic B flat version with just the melody. Secondly, a more complex version with a bit of ornamentation and double stopping, and finally a version in the more fiddle-friendly key of A. So let's start off just going through the simple melody. 1, 2, 3. And a repeat. Okay, one thing to say about this tune is if you look at the end of the A section on the repeat, I've written extra bar question mark, and this is a thing that happens a lot in traditionally minded bluegrass bands, where there's a kind of an ad-lib pause, well not a pause, when extra beats are added at the end of a section. And I think this originates from the idea that everyone went around a single mic, and it took a while to get from one person being in front of the mic to another person getting in front of the mic. And so I think in particular banjo players and guitar players they developed this idea of just keeping on going a bit extra, and everyone being expected to know when they were going to come back in. It's not something I've ever mastered, this idea, because I've not played with enough people who play in that way. But it's something to watch out for. If you're really puzzled by what's happening there, then that is what's happening. And it's good actually, if as a fiddle player you are able to do the same kind of thing, just because it's a special feeling to do that special kind of thing. But anyway, let's just look at the chords briefly. It's in the key of B flat. But the second chord is a D, and that is a very unexpected chord, so if you're not expecting that, it's going to be a big surprise, and you're likely to play some wrong notes, especially if you're soloing. So if you're doing your typical bluegrass pentatonic scale or blues scale on the first chord, then that's definitely not going to work the same chord on the second. So you've got to be prepared for that. Let's go through the melody now, and we'll see how we're going to deal with that as the melody. So this version is one that you could play as a solo based closely around the melody. We're going to start off by emphasizing the first three chords with double stops. So we've got to put an F underneath the D note. Now we're going to put an F sharp under the D, which emphasises the change of chord. So the fingering for that, that's 3/2, that's 2 with a 3 below it, and they're close up together. have to take that second finger off to do that. And then the B flat has a G under it for the E flat chord. And I'm doing a B flat with an F under it. So let's just do those 4 bars. Okay, and then a little fill going down a chromatic scale. Okay, so here on the F, the melody is that, and we're adding a parallel fifth above it, which gives us some real tasty outside notes. So that's not a mistake, that is a deliberate dissonance. Let's take it from the beginning up to there. Okay, then more or less the same. And then a nice long filling line. So lots of blue notes there. This is the classic root over fifth. Here emphasising the C chord by putting the E natural in there. So this is a nice little line which you can either do in first position with the fourth and third sliding down and up again, or second and first in third position, and then a nice rundown. And this is what you might call part of the scale of sixths, which I have a video about. You can do it in first position like this, or in third position, and then down to first, and then the finish off. And that descending through a blues scale to the tonic is a very typical way to end this kind of bluegrass tune. So what we have is kind of a written solo. You could learn this solo as is, and that would work fine. You could use the same general ideas, staying close to the melody but filling in to do your solo if you like, or you could improvise a solo. And I'll just give you a few ideas about that in a minute, but first of all let's play this with the backing. Now, I mentioned at the beginning the problem of the second chord that it can cause you if you're trying to play a pentatonic scale all the way through, which is the bluffer's way of approaching soloing. But it is possible, actually, if you are careful. There is one note, at least one note, in the D chord that is part of that scale, which is of course the D note itself. So if you were just doing, if you just dwell on the D note for that particular chord, then that is going to work. When it comes to the C chord in the bridge, then similarly the C note is still part of that scale. So I'm just going to bluff my way through a solo, just staying on the pentatonic scale, but being careful to avoid any other notes apart from the roots on the D and the C chord. Now that, to a seasoned bluegrasser, is a terrible way to do a solo, but it is very easy. So if you are kind of starting out on improvisation in bluegrass, then that's a good place to start, because you don't have to give a lot of thought about what the possible choice of notes is, beyond the fact that you've got to carefully avoid the notes in those two chords, as I said. It's much better if you actually learn to follow the chords, because chords in bluegrass are generally pretty simple. So there's no, in the long term, there's no excuse for not learning the chords and improvising properly. And also, I wasn't really doing many proper bluegrass licks in there, so you want to have plenty of those at your disposal, which are not just tied to the blues or the pentatonic scale. I'm going to finish off with a version in the key of A, which, if you happen to be the band leader and were in a position to choose the key, then this will be a much better key to use, unless you want the challenge of B flat. So I'll just play once through the melody in A, and then I'll play out with a solo in A. Enjoyed this. If you would like a copy of the PDF of the sheet music for this, then do subscribe to the channel and send me an email. And if you would like to help keep these videos coming, then do consider subscribing to my Patreon page, and you'll see the link appearing either just above or just below me right now.